Hello, dear friends of Life Single. Today we bring you a story that will touch the deepest corners of your heart. A story about Di and Huyen, but also about the man who once held Huyen's happiness in his hands and let it slip away. What happens when a man who abandoned his family sits behind prison bars and realizes everything he has lost? Can regret heal the wounds of the past? Or does it come too late? Stay with us until the end to witness this emotional journey unfold. The morning air was cold and heavy as Thuk's father prepared for his monthly visit to the prison. His hands trembled slightly as he packed a small bag with essentials. Some clothes, a few personal items, and letters from relatives. The weight in his chest had nothing to do with the bag he carried. It was the weight of a father's love for a son who had strayed so far from the right path. The prison stood like a gray fortress against the mountain backdrop, its walls high and forbidding. As Thuk's father waited in the visiting room, his mind wandered to memories of his son as a boy. Bright-eyed, full of dreams, untouched by the darkness that would later consume him. The metallic clang of doors opening brought him back to reality. When Thuk appeared behind the glass partition, his father's breath caught in his throat. The young man before him looked different. Gone was the defiant smirk, the careless attitude that had marked his features for so long. In its place was something softer, more vulnerable. Thuk's eyes, once hardened by reckless living, now held a depth of sorrow that spoke of genuine transformation. They picked up the phones that separated them. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence between them was filled with years of disappointment, anger, and underneath it all, an unbreakable thread of love. "Dad," Thuk finally said, his voice rough with emotion. "Thank you for coming," Thuk's father nodded, unable to trust his voice just yet. He studied his son's face, searching for signs of the change he hoped was real and lasting. Thuk spoke first, his words tumbling out as if he had been holding them back for too long. "I know I failed you, Dad. I failed everyone. Every day in here, I wake up thinking about all the stupid choices I made. The gambling, the drinking, the friends who led me down the wrong path. I can't believe I was so blind." The older man listened, watching his son's face contort with genuine remorse. This was not the arrogant young man who had been dragged away in handcuffs. This was someone broken and rebuilding. "The rehabilitation program here has helped me see things clearly," Thuk continued. "I attend every session, every workshop. I'm learning skills, Dad. Real skills that could help me find honest work when I get out. I'm reading books about responsibility, about being a better person. I know it doesn't erase what I did, but I'm trying." Thuk's father felt tears prick his eyes. "I can see the change in you, son. I'm proud that you're taking this seriously. That's all I've ever wanted, for you to recognize your mistakes and grow from them." Thuk's expression crumpled then, and when he spoke again, his voice broke. "But Dad, the worst part isn't being in here. The worst part is thinking about Maya, my little girl. She must be 6 years old now, and I've missed everything. Her first day of school, her learning to read, all those precious moments a father should be there for. I lie awake at night seeing her face, remembering how she used to laugh, how she'd run to me when I came home, back when I still deserved that kind of love." The pain in his son's voice was so raw that Thuk's father had to look away for a moment. When he looked back, tears were streaming down Thuk's face. "Does she remember me, Dad? Does she ask about her father? Or have I been gone so long that I'm just a stranger to her now?" Thuk's father felt his own resolve wavering. This was the conversation he had been dreading, but it could no longer be avoided. His son deserved to know the truth, painful as it would be. "Thuk," he began slowly, choosing his words carefully. "There's something you need to know. Something I only recently discovered myself, and it's been eating at me ever since." Thuk wiped his eyes with the back of his hand, leaning closer to the glass. What is it, Dad? Is Maya okay? Is she sick? No, she's healthy, his father assured him quickly. But son, Huyen and Maya didn't leave on their own. They didn't abandon us like your mother said. Thuk's brow furrowed in confusion. What do you mean? Mom told us Huyen took Maya and left because she was tired of waiting for me. Tired of being poor. The older man shook his head, his own anger at the deception still fresh. That's what your mother told me too, and I believed her. I was so angry at Huyen for taking my granddaughter away. But I was wrong, son. We were both wrong. Dad, you're not making sense. What happened? Thuk's father took a deep breath. Your mother drove them out. She threw Huyen and little Maya out of our house. They didn't choose to leave. They had nowhere else to go. The color drained from Thuk's face. What? No, that can't be true. Why would Mom do that? Because she was angry and bitter. Because you were in prison and she wanted someone to blame. Huyen was an easy target. Young, powerless, with no family of her own to protect her. Your mother told her she was a burden, that she and Maya were just extra mouths to feed. She gave them one day to pack their things and leave. Thuk looked as if he'd been physically struck. His hands, still holding the phone, began to shake. Where did they go? Maya was just 3 years old. Where could they possibly go? That's what haunts me most. His father continued, his voice heavy with regret. I was away working in the city, trying to earn money to support us all while you were locked up. I didn't know any of this was happening. When I came home, your mother told me Huyen had left with Maya, that she'd found someone else and didn't want to wait for you anymore. I believed her. God forgive me. I believed her lies. And I was furious at Huyen for abandoning our family. Tell me what happened to them, Thuk demanded, his voice desperate. Please, Dad, I need to know. Thuk's father met his son's eyes through the glass. They had nothing, Thuk. Huyen had no money, no family to turn to. She couldn't go back to her own parents. You remember how they disowned her when she married you. She and Maya lived in abandoned shacks, moving from place to place. Huyen did whatever work she could find, washing dishes, cleaning, manual labor in the fields. But it was never enough. There were days when Maya didn't have enough to eat, days when they had to choose between food and shelter. Thuk let out a sound that was half sob, half groan. His forehead pressed against the glass partition as if the weight of this knowledge was too much to bear. I only found out the truth a few weeks ago, his father continued. I was in town, and I ran into Mrs. Lan. You remember her? She lives near the market. She asked me how Maya was doing, said she'd heard the little girl was doing much better now. I was confused because I hadn't seen Maya in over 2 years. That's when everything started to unravel. Mrs. Lan told me she'd seen Huyen and Maya struggling, living in terrible conditions, right after your mother kicked them out. How could she? Thuk whispered. How could Mom do that to a young woman and a small child? Her own granddaughter? I confronted your mother, his father said grimly. At first she denied it, but eventually the truth came out. She was afraid, Thuk. Afraid that if you knew what she'd done, if I knew the truth, we'd turn against her. So she lied and kept lying, hoping the secret would stay buried. Thuk's face was a mask of anguish and fury. I'm as much to blame as she is. More, even. If I hadn't been so stupid, if I hadn't gotten involved in that gambling ring, if I'd been a responsible husband and father, none of this would have happened. Huyen and Maya suffered because of my mistakes. Yes, his father agreed, not unkindly. Your choices set everything in motion. But son, there's more you need to know. More? How can there be more? Thuk's father's expression softened slightly. Huyen and Maya didn't have to struggle alone forever. Someone helped them. Who? Thuk asked, though something in his father's tone already told him this was not going to be easy to hear. A man named Day. He's a good man, Thuk. Hardworking, honest, kind. He found Huyen and Maya at their lowest point, when they had almost nothing left. He didn't just give them money or food and walk away. He took them in. He gave them a home, stability, safety, everything they desperately needed and deserved. Thuk closed his eyes and fresh tears spilled down his cheeks. Dee treats Maya like she's his own daughter, his father continued gently. He walks her to school every morning. He helps her with her homework. He makes sure she has warm clothes and enough to eat. He plays with her, listens to her stories, tucks her in at night. He's given her the childhood she deserves, the childhood we failed to provide. And Huyen, Thuk's voice was barely audible. Huyen has found happiness with Dee. Real happiness. The kind of happiness she never knew. With us. With you. Dae doesn't just take care of them out of duty or obligation. He loves them both, genuinely and deeply. Huyen smiles now, Thuk. She laughs. She's building a life, a real life, after years of suffering. The silence that followed was profound. Thuk sat motionless, his eyes unfocused, his mind clearly racing through everything he'd just learned. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. I've lost them. I've lost my wife and my daughter, not because of fate or bad luck, but because of who I was, what I did. I destroyed my own family. His father wanted to argue, to offer comfort, but he couldn't. The truth was too stark, too undeniable. Maya is happy, Thuk said, and it wasn't a question. She has a father figure who actually shows up for her, who takes care of her the way I should have. She probably doesn't even remember me anymore. And if she does, it's probably as the father who disappeared, who let her down. She does remember you, his father said quietly. I've seen her a few times from a distance. She's a beautiful child, Thuk. Smart and curious and full of life despite everything. But you're right. Dee is her father now, in all the ways that matter. Thuk nodded slowly, accepting this painful reality. For several long moments, neither man spoke. The sounds of the prison filtered in around them. Distant voices, the clang of metal, footsteps in corridors. But in their small bubble of grief, these sounds seemed very far away. Finally, Thuk looked up at his father with a new intensity in his eyes. Dad, I need to ask you something. It's probably selfish, probably wrong, but I have to ask anyway. What is it, son? Maya needs to know where she comes from. She needs to know her real family. I know I don't deserve to be in her life, and I know she's happy where she is. But Dad, you're her grandfather. You love her. You've always loved her. Thuk's father felt his heart constrict, sensing where this was going. Would you consider bringing Maya home? Not permanently, maybe, but for visits. You could give her the love and stability of her blood family. She could know her roots, her heritage. She could have her grandfather in her life. And maybe, when I finally get out of here, if I prove I have truly changed, maybe someday she could know her father too. The request hung in the air between them like a physical thing. Thuk's father felt torn in two directions. Part of him wanted nothing more than to have his granddaughter back in his life, to make up for the years of absence, to shower her with the love and attention she'd been denied. But another part of him, the part that had seen the reality of Maya's current situation, hesitated. Thuk, I understand why you're asking this. And believe me, there's nothing I want more than to have Maya in my life. But son, we have to think about what's best for her, not what's best for us. What do you mean? Thuk asked, though his expression suggested he already knew. Maya is thriving with Dae and Huyen. She has stability, love, a proper home. She's in school. She has friends. She has a routine. She's known security and happiness for the first time in her young life. If we disrupt that now, if we try to bring her back into our world, what are we really offering her? Thuk's face crumpled. I know you're right. But Dad, she's my daughter. She's your granddaughter. Doesn't that mean anything? It means everything. His father said firmly. Which is exactly why we have to put her needs first. Yes, we're her blood family. But Day has been the father she needed when her real father couldn't be there. Huyen has built a new life, a good life, for her daughter. Who are we to tear that apart because of our own needs and wants? So I should just give up, except that I'll never really know my daughter. I'm not saying that, his father replied. What I'm saying is that we need to be patient. We need to respect the life Huyen has built. If there's ever to be a relationship between you and Maya, it has to happen naturally, with Huyen's blessing, when the time is right. It can't be forced. Thuk leaned back, his shoulders sagging with defeat and acceptance. You're right. Of course you're right. I'm in no position to demand anything. I have no rights here. I gave those up when I chose gambling and crime over my family. You're not that person anymore, his father said gently. I can see that. You're changing, growing. That's important, Thuk. Keep doing the work. Keep becoming the man you want to be. And maybe, someday, when you've proven yourself through actions, not just words, maybe there will be a chance for you to be part of Maya's life in some way. But until then, we respect Huyen's choices. We acknowledge that she's doing an excellent job raising Maya. We thank whatever forces brought Day into their lives when they needed him most. And we deal with our own guilt and regret without burdening that innocent child with our needs. Thuk wiped his face again, composing himself. I want Maya to be happy more than anything. If that happiness is with Day and Huyen, then that's how it should be. But Dad, promise me something. What's that? If you ever get the chance, if Huyen ever allows it, tell Maya that her father thinks about her every day. Tell her that I'm sorry I wasn't the father she deserved. Tell her that my biggest regret isn't being in prison. It's not being there for her. And tell her that I'm trying to become someone worthy of her, even if I never get the chance to show her. Thuk's father nodded, his own tears finally spilling over. I promise, son. If the opportunity ever presents itself, I'll tell her. But I'll also tell her about Dee, about how he stepped up when you couldn't. She deserves to know all of it, when she's old enough to understand. The guard announced that visiting time was ending. The two men stood, neither wanting to break this connection, painful as it was. Keep working on yourself, Thuk. That's the best thing you can do now. Not for Maya, not for me, but for yourself. Become the man you want to be. I will, Dad. I promise I will. As Thuk was led away, he turned back one last time. Dad, is she really happy? Maya, I mean. Does she smile? Does she laugh? His father managed a small smile through his tears. Yes, son, she's happy. She's more than happy. She's thriving. Dee makes sure of that. He's given her the childhood every child deserves. Thuk nodded, and though more tears fell, there was something like peace in his expression. Then I'm glad, truly glad. Even if it breaks my heart, I'm glad she has that. The weight of regret settles heavy on the soul, doesn't it? Thuk sits in his prison cell tonight, carrying the knowledge of all he has lost, not taken from him by fate, but surrendered through his own reckless choices. His daughter lives and laughs and grows, but in another man's home, calling another man's name. The question that haunts us is not whether Thuk's father should bring Maya back, but whether disrupting a child's hard-won happiness serves anyone but the guilty seeking redemption. Sometimes love means letting go. Sometimes the greatest act of parental devotion is acknowledging that someone else can provide what we cannot. Maya has found her safe harbor with Dee and Huyen. Perhaps that is where she belongs, regardless of biology, regardless of wishes, regardless of belated regret. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey with Life Single. If this story touched your heart, please like and share it. Follow us to continue following Dee and Huyen's story. as they build their family together. Until next time, dear friends.